Okay. So, what was the reason that you decided to go for the CIA exam?
So the reason was I was getting some exposure towards alternative investments in thing because some of my clients who are pension fund clients, they were investing in alternative investments like private equities, especially and real assets.
Okay, how many hours you were giving every single day?
I would say around 2 hours daily basis.
So, before you went to the actual exam, okay,
Mhm.
how many times you must have seen the content, or how many times you must have read the book, the textbook?
So I only went through the summary slides mostly, and then I
Okay.
did worked on the MCQs. I did not go into the textbook deep at the end of the days. Yeah.
Was it because you got exhausted the first
Huh,
half?
a bit of it's a bit overwhelming when you go into the exam. They check you completely, like the airport checkings that it happens, and then they take out
Correct.
everything, and there is nothing available for you except for water there. And then, yeah, at least a tea would have given me some break, I believe. It was a bit overwhelming there in the exam hall, like 20 cameras on your head.
Hello guys, I hope everybody is doing good. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students who are preparing for competitive exams in finance like CFA, FRM, CIA, SCR, and all of these certifications which are there in the market to upskill them. And today I'm having a quick short interview with one of my students who's been there in the CIA Level 1 exam. He's been able to clear this exam. He's going to be talking about his entire journey, what challenges he faced, what are the problems that he faced, and how did he manage to clear that exam. Okay, so we have with us Vamsi. Vamsi, first of all, thank you very much for taking out time and talking to us. It's an early morning for you also, and so just for the background for the audience to understand what were you doing before you started preparing for the CIE?
Right. So, good morning, everyone. Hello, sir, and thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, I'm glad I've cleared level one. I'm going through my preparation for level two right now. Yeah, just to give a gist about myself, I have like 15 years of experience into investment banking operations. I worked with various organizations like UBS. I worked with Barclays in Chennai, and then I worked with State Street. I'm currently working with State Street as a senior manager. There, I'm into back office operations, into client service role. So I manage a couple of pension fund clients there.
Okay,
So that's about me. Yes.
okay. So, what was the reason that you decided to go for the CIE exam?
So the reason was I was getting some exposure towards alternative investments in because some of my clients who are pension fund clients, they were investing in alternative investments like private equities, especially and real assets. So I was getting some exposure there because I was speaking to the clients, and then I was trying to understand their requirements. And day
Mhm.
in day out, they used to transfer a lot of money. So I know what is happening where they're investing, and I see a whole lot of shift from the basic uh, what do you say
Traditional.
asset classes, traditional asset classes. They were moving towards alternative investments.
Okay.
So I used to get some LODs on a day in, day out basis. So that's where I got some
Mhm.
exposure. So, okay, then, okay, what is private equity? I started to look into it. Oh, okay, what is real assets? Okay, I started to look into it. And
Okay.
then all of a sudden, I some kind of felt in love with it. Then started to dig in a more. I understood there is a certification around it, and then I thought, okay, let's try and do this certification and get some more experience into it. So that's how I came across CAIA.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Now, which month you started? So you gave the exam in the month of March, correct?
Right.
Right. So which month you actually started preparing for the exam?
First, I think I dedicated around 5 months, I believe. Uh,
Okay.
So when I started reaching out to Fintelligents around October, so the thought process was from last year Jan that I had to
Hmm.
start, but I could not because Jan was too early for the March exam,
Okay.
and I could not start preparing for it. Then I was trying to search for a lot of service providers who are into CAIA, like who are giving training for CAIA. But I could not find within India, not many, if I would say. Outside India, yeah, definitely there are a couple of them like Edge or the Kaplan or who are them. But they had only few classes. If I see, they only have few classes which they
Mhm.
provide and not in-depth training on CAIA. That's when I came across Fintelligence, and then I thought, okay, let's try with Fintelligence because I saw your videos and classes, and that's I thought, okay, this is working out for me, which the way I want me to be trained, and I could get
Correct.
better service. So there's a value for money also included. So that's when I started in the month of October. Yeah,
How many hours you were giving every single day from October onwards?
I would say around 2 hours daily basis. These days, if we sit for at least 3 to 4 hours, you can't give dedicated 2 hours, I would say.
Mhm.
But definitely 2 hours dedicatedly, day in,
Okay.
day out. And weekends, we used to have classes. So 5 hours was quite sufficient. 4 to 5 hours was quite sufficient for the classes during the weekend.
Mhm.
So weekend with the classes and weekdays, 2 hours at least every day. Yeah,
Okay. And you were watching the video in the weekdays and solving the question bank.
right. So I was the classes would happen in the morning, and
Mhm.
then evening I would watch a couple of videos or do some mock tests around it. Yeah, that's how I
This
used to.
this is this is what you're talking about in the weekends,
Yeah, in the
right?
weekends.
And in weekdays, what were you doing? So you were reading the textbook more or you were watching the videos more?
So I was initially started reading the textbook. So what I started in the month of October, I would say I started reading the textbook and I started to note down everything. Okay,
Correct.
so that felt a bit overwhelming because it's too much. Like when you start reading it and then writing it on the book, it takes a lot of time. So I
Correct.
thought maybe when I started going through the classes with CI with Fintelligence, then I understood. So each and every topic which was there in CIA textbook or the Squazer textbook, it's already there in the PPT, well defined,
Mhm.
well explained. Okay, I thought why not I only pick up the slides and start reading only the
Okay.
slides. That was more than enough in fact. So the slides were quite clear, quite constructed, well constructed, I thought. And
Okay.
then I thought, okay, if I read the textbook every day and start writing it, it would be
Mhm.
a huge time taking process. The 2 hours on a daily basis would
Correct.
not be enough for that. So that's when I went through the slides and any topics which I had doubt. Okay, the slides, maybe one or two topics, the slides would not be complete. So I was not understanding it. That's when I jumped into the book and I
Mhm.
picked up that topic and started studying that topic because in the book definitely there is in depth in there, more
Mhm.
information there to understand.
Correct.
So the slides were very helpful, which Fintelligence gave. I was going through only them mostly, and
Okay.
then if I'm not understanding something, I used to go into the CAIA or the
Textbook.
Squazer book textbooks.
And in terms of the solving, okay, the you
Right.
solved every week the question banks that were provided by us.
Yeah, I was solving the question banks not every week, but I started a bit late. So
Okay.
the syllabus was completed by around Jan, and then we had time in the Feb and March for the exam to prepare and review again. So I started it in the month of Feb and March only, completely only MCQs I was doing.
Okay.
So yeah, I did not do in between, but then I started out a bit late. But I think that's something I corrected for the second level right now. As soon as
Hmm.
I do a chapter, I started working on the MCQs. That would actually
Okay.
give you time to review where you're lacking and then go back and work on it again. So in the level one,
Okay.
I should have done that, but yeah, I didn't do that. I started MCQs a bit late. Yeah.
Okay. So when you start, so what I'm assuming, understanding from the conversation is that the last 1 month. primarily Feb is where you did more solving.
Right.
Okay, and the time was the same. You were able to give only 2 hours in the month of Feb because you were also working around that point.
Right. So I was revising in the month of Feb. The first 15 days went into revising, and the
Mhm.
next 1 month, because March 10th was my exam somewhere around. So I had some
Okay,
1 month. I was doing MCQs only completely after the revision. Yeah, I was giving the same time, 2 hours in the weekdays and around 4 hours in the weekends. Yes.
okay, interesting. And then, so before you went to the actual exam, okay,
Mhm.
how many times you must have seen the content, or how many times you must have read the book, the textbook?
I definitely went through Fintelligents summary slides. Those were very
Huh.
helpful. The ones which you created at the end and have provided to us. So I did not go into the textbook. Textbook wouldn't help much. Solving a lot would only help. And
Okay.
then, yeah, the summary slides were very interesting, and they were quick. Like there are about 15 to 20 slides for each chapter, I believe, and then they helped a lot in terms of revising. So
Hmm.
I only went through the summary slides mostly, and then I did
Okay.
worked on the MCQs. I did not go into the textbook deep at the end of the days. Yeah.
And you solved the mock papers also, the
Yes, I
daily
did
mock
solve the
papers,
mock papers. Yes.
and the institute mock paper also.
Yes.
In the CI sample paper, what was the average score you were getting?
In the CIA sample paper, I was getting around 60, 65, I believe. So what I would say is the actual exam was quite similar to the sample exam. In
Hmm.
the sense the questions were very much similar to the sample exam.
Okay.
So I would suggest anyone going through this exam to go through the sample exam at least twice or thrice, because the first time when you go do the
Hmm.
sample exam, you might get around 60, and then or 50 or something like that. And then the second time when you look at the answers and again do the exam, you might get around 80. So the real exam was actually quite close to the sample exam. Rather
Hmm.
than I had some other MCQs also from third-party providers like Uppermark also, but they were not much helpful. But then, yeah, definitely they would tune you for the exam. But then the actual sample exams were quite similar to the actual, yeah,
Okay.
the
And when
CIA
you went to
sample
the
exam.
actual day exam, on the day of the exam, okay,
Right.
and you started solving, because it's in two parts. So the first part, when you started solving, what was your experience? So were you able to solve everything in that stipulated time? Was it very tough initially? Was it very easy? What happened?
So So if you see, there is a weightage for each and every chapter,
Chapter.
right? So the top chapters which come are the basics of introduction to alternative investments, and
Mhm.
then hedge funds is the another topic which had the highest weightage. So the both around 40 to 45% is the weightage for both those chapters together. But one more chapter that we miss completely is the quant part, which has around 25%, right? Uh, in the sense, it includes the hedge funds and alternative investments calculations also, but then that is
Right.
also a huge chunk, 25%.
Hmm.
If you are average at math, so I don't say I'm very good at math. I'm
Hmm.
excellent in maths. So I was not a 90% student in a lifelong or something. I was around 60 to 70. So to break the ice. So I was around 60% candidate only. But then the quant is quite easy in the exam, in the sense if you're thorough with the formulas,
Hmm.
it will be very easy. It's a quick what do you say solving only. It will not take much time. It's
Okay.
only this. It's just a multi-step thinking that sometimes the questions test you. It's not very straightforward. The questions are, but
Hmm.
it tests you a bit in terms of the knowledge that you have and what you have studied. So
Okay.
one advice is the quant chapter should be everyone should be thorough with it. I know the formulas would be too many, around 200, 150 to 200 formulas are there in
Correct.
the CAIA
With the
level
entire
one.
syllabus, yes, yes.
Right, right. So, but if you're quite thorough with the syllabus and you understand those formulas, how to apply it, in the exam, it is quite straightforward.
Out of total 200 questions, okay, how many questions were, as per your understanding, was calculation driven?
So, around 40 to 50 were calculation driven. 40
Okay.
questions were around calculations, definitely.
Okay.
So some of them were very easy.
Hmm.
As if you know the formula, you could directly apply and you can get the answer. It's quite easy.
Correct.
So one of the interesting factors I was thinking whether I could the 2 hours was sufficient during the exam or not. But
Hmm.
then it was quite sufficient in the sense I had around 20 minutes left out in the first 2 hours.
Oh,
Okay, so the reason because the quant I could calculate it much faster, and
okay.
I think the other reason was the ethics being downgraded, the weightage for ethics being downgraded. Earlier it was around
Hmm.
25%, but they
Huh.
got
Now
it
they've
back to
added two
10%.
chapters. They
So
added two
yeah,
chapter in the
ethics
syllabus.
questions could be long, right? So sometimes the
Hmm.
ethics, if you see the CFA questions also, they're quite long. You take a lot of time to read them, understand them, and then answer them. So
Correct.
that time might have helped because from 25% drop down to 10 actually helped in gaining some time, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay. And with respect to the, so you mentioned that quant was almost similar, I mean, easy, but theory, okay, whenever you're looking at the theoretical questions, so was the question size, the question text, was it almost same as the sample paper that was provided by the institute?
yes, yes, it was quite well structured. How the sample paper was, it was same. The sample, the actual exam also had same type of questions.
Hmm.
Uh, as I said earlier, it required some multi-step thinking rather than direct recall. So it, it was not straightforward questions in the exam. Like, yeah, what are the different types of hedge funds? And then you give four answers and choose one from them. It was not quite easy. Uh, it truly tested how much you understand the concept rather than just memorizing things. So
Hmm.
it's not a direct recall, even though, yeah, it was quite similar to the sample exam. But then each and every question you had to think twice before you answer it. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, okay. And were the options also very close in terms of elimination that you're when you read you're not able to eliminate, or was it simple? You understand the question, you can easily pick up the option.
Uh, no, I wouldn't say that. It was a bit tricky. Um you need to think twice before you answer. So the whole time would take in reading the options, even though if you think if you have read the first option and you think, yeah, this is the
Okay.
right answer. But I would suggest you do not answer that immediately. You need to go through the remaining three options also. So that's when you understand, okay, there is something tricky within the answer. So within these answers, you need to choose the right one. So it was not definitely straightforward. You need to take some time over choosing the answer. Yeah.
Okay. And you took a break in between, right? 15-20 minutes break, right?
Right.
And then you went to the second. So when you compare the first part of the exam and the second part, which was more tough for you?
I thought the second part of the exam was a bit tougher. In the first part, as I said, I had 20 minutes time. So I marked a
Correct.
lot of questions for review. So I went back and I checked each and every question which I marked. And then I corrected a few of them. Mostly I did not correct. But yeah, in the second part, I thought, okay, in the first part, I had 20 minutes. Maybe why not I take more time in reading the questions and answers and solve the second part. But while I was solving the second part, by the time I completed it, almost the 2 hours were done. So I did not have enough time
Okay.
to review it like the first 2 hours. So,
Was it because you got exhausted the first
huh,
half?
a bit of it's a bit overwhelming when you go into the exam. They check you completely, like the airport checkings that it happens, and then they take out
Correct.
everything, and there is nothing available for you except for water there. And then, yeah, at least a tea would have given me some break, I believe. But then there was nothing there in the exam center. Unfortunately, if you had to grab something, you need to go down. 10 floors and then go to a coffee shop and get something. But then, yeah,
Okay.
uh, it was a bit overwhelming there in the exam hall, like 20 cameras on your head. So there were 20 seats
Okay.
and literally 20 cameras on your head. Yeah, because that's how the exam is. And
In the entire curriculum. So you have sections like introduction to alternatives, you have private equity,
right.
private debt. Which section you found very tough and which section you found very easy?
I would say some of the concepts in the introduction to alternatives, not everything, but some of the concepts in terms of
Hmm.
testing or calculating the bond uh, times or rates. There were a couple of questions on bonds, convertible bonds, and all. Those I felt a bit trickier or a bit hard. And
Okay.
some concepts of hedge funds were also quite hard because yeah, if you read through it might be very easy, but the questions on the
Hmm.
hedge funds were a little tricky. So these
Okay.
were some of the topics which I felt a bit hard, and some
Hmm.
topics in real assets. Only few topics which I felt a bit hard because the
Okay.
first level only introduces to alternative investments. It's more of a basic understanding. Whole and soul, it was good. It was the syllabus was very good, but few topics here and there we are definitely in terms of introduction, and then hedge funds, some topics related to hedge funds were quite a bit harder to understand.
Okay. And when you came out of the actual exam, okay, when you're done, what was your thought process? Were you thinking that I'm going to pass the exam?
So I thought I had a fair chance. I wouldn't say, because it all depends on how many people have written, how many people have joined the exam, and how many people gave the exam, and then
Hmm.
if 70% is definitely a pass, I was thinking around 65 or something, 70, close to it. Because the quant, as I said, there are about 40 to 50 questions. 40 to 45 questions were quant. In that, I thought I definitely got 35 questions out of 40.
Okay.
So correct. So that's what helped me. And then the remaining questions in the theory part, yeah, I thought I would definitely score around 100, in the quant. So 135 around is the questions which I thought would get correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
I thought I had a fair chance, but you do not know at the end of the day how many people have scored more than you, that would actually count.
Okay, okay. So wonderful. I mean, this conversation would really help a lot of students who are preparing for the exam because it's not just the preparation, you also need to have a right mindset to clear any exam. And your
Right.
journey of working this exam along with a full-time job, I think so would motivate a lot of students to prepare properly, give that the best shot for the exam. So again, thank you, Vamsi, for taking out time and talking to us today and giving a view on your entire preparation journey.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much.